This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com.
Hey everybody, it's your old pal Rob. Today is something that I wanted to talk about because I've been going over a lot of my old D&D books. Matter of fact, I got one of them over here somewhere. And oh yeah, here it is. I never said it'd be professional. But, you know, I was looking through this old Dungeon Master guide and it made me think of a lot of things, especially since I've been doing a lot of tunnels and trolls and stuff like that lately. And I think we've lost the theater of the mind aspect of Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm going to tell you why. And this is more of a question out to the masses instead of an unbelievable statement. I see things, I wonder things, and I wonder if you guys feel the same way or see things a certain way. You know, when we were younger, and especially I was, you know, I played on the football team, the baseball team, wrestling team, and, you know, did all kinds of sports. And my closest friends were all MIT students. I didn't identify, you know, I couldn't see working a part-time job and, you know, back then, you know, putting in like 30 hours and making $20, whatever it was back in the day, and taking that money and going to a kegger and drinking away my hard work. It just wasn't my thing. You know, I didn't get any value out of it. So gaming was a big thing for me, you know, Dungeons and Dragons, you know, war games and stuff like that. And I'd saved my money for that. So I identified more with people that did that kind of stuff. And for me, it was very personal. And when we would walk through a door, me and a bunch of guys, and we'd go to our friend's house, and who would dungeon master everything. It was, when we walked through that door, we were that character that we wanted to be. We were that person. And the thing that gets me is when you would walk through that door, you weren't yourself. You were, as I say, you know, my character was Thundar the Barbarian. And the minute I walked through that door, it wasn't Rob the Jock, you know, that they knew me by. They just saw Thundar. And all my other friends, whether they were paladins or anything like that, you didn't look at them. It wasn't Rob being a barbarian. It was just, I was just a barbarian. And, you know, nowadays, you know, for back then everything was pencil and paper, and we used our imaginations to imagine where we were and what we were doing. And it seems nowadays every time a new book comes out, well, all the miniatures come out with it. There's technology has evolved itself to the point where now there's these elaborate things that you're not using your imagination anymore. And yes, I could see other, you know, people's points. Well, hey, you know, we're creating immersion this way, but also you were testing your mind. You were using your mind more, and it was good for your mind. It was exercise for your gray matter. Imagining, thinking, overcoming. Where now everything is made easy for you. And the rules actually tailor to the nowadays thing. The other thing that kills me is now it's become so. It's a good thing in a way that it's become popular with some of the Hollywood people and bigger showcasing people that showcase this stuff, but they make it about themselves. I've read an interview where a person revitalize their career by reaching a different audience, which is us, the gamer. Well, I tried this and I became popular because, I did this. And the sad thing about that is you have dungeon masters that sit behind their book and pose. You got a bunch of posers now that sit behind their book and go like this. So you notice them. It's like it's become a thing that now these Hollywood people and famous people, it's, well, watch how I play an elf, instead of them becoming the elf. It's like in sports in a way. A great referee, okay, is someone that you don't notice through the whole game. Okay? Yeah, he calls penalties and this, that, and the other, but if everything is kept in a good referee, you really don't notice him through the whole game. Okay? But when they start making it about themselves and making bad calls, well, you learn that referee's name. This is the same thing with the dungeon masters to some degree. A great dungeon master is somebody that tells you a story, and you're not even worried about what he's telling you, as much as you and your group trying to figure out how you're going to overcome a problem, because they emphasize on the problem. But nowadays it's more about, I'm going to tell the story, and it's about this person who's a DM and how he is going to immersify this, okay, and how he is going to, well, it's more about the person playing the DM than him just being a DM and forgetting about who he is. And these Hollywood people, it's more about them doing this and getting exposure instead of immersing themselves and just becoming the characters that they are portraying. And that's where the theater of the mind thing gets thrown out the window. Now, I could see a lot of you having a point. Well, them, showing off Dungeons and Dragons is making it more popular. That's true in a lot of ways. But what are we making popular? The people that are doing it? Or the game itself? I think they forget that it is a theater of the mind. How many times would you just like to sit there? Now they have so many different ways that you can play the game over the internet, where you have these elaborate setups through the computer and stuff like that with the D20 thing, there's some great shows that do a lot of things, and they, there's beautiful miniatures and things and stuff and everything that you possibly could. But how popular would it be if it was just a bunch of people never introduced themselves and just said, I'm the barbarian and this is who I am, and just with graph paper or a graph on a computer screen kind of went through and talked and told this incredible stories? Is it a lot like movies now, where it's more special effect than story? Are we immersed more with the table presence than the theater of the mind? I'm an old school guy, and this is the way I think, but I also want to hear what you have to say. Do you feel the same way I do, or am I totally off base? I could see where it's a combination of both. I really can. I love Dungeons and Dragons, I love Tunnels and Trolls, and I love all kinds of role-playing games, and I love the new dungeon stuff. But when I'm trying to tell a story by myself to you guys, and I bring out the visuals, I feel I lose something. And I want to try to take and do some things where I just break out some graph paper and I tell a story. And I'm going to try that going forward. I have elaborate dungeon stuff and things like that, but I use it for other things more than I do Dungeons and Dragons. I'll actually make a dungeon bowl for my dungeon bowl set instead of using the flat cardboard, because I try to build more immersion. But I think going forward, I'm going to try to do some things and have some fun where we just try some theater of the mind stuff, because I think it's a lost art. And I really hope, and now don't get me wrong, I don't watch a lot of Dungeons and Dragons channels, if at all. But there might be people out there doing that. But as we're doing things, like when we do things with 4 Against Darkness, how much fun do we have with that? I think it's out there. I think the theater of the mind is out there. I love drawing things, and I love immersing ourselves through things and using our imagination and being bewildered by we don't know what's behind that door. It'll be interesting. I'd like to try it, but I'd like to get your thoughts and just put them in the comments. Let me know what you think. I'm really eager to hear what you have to say. Dungeons and Dragons to a lot of us is something that's very personal, from the first edition all the way to the latest edition. We had a poll, and it was pretty well balanced with that everybody kind of loved something from every generation. Some people thought one version was too miniature heavy, other was too theater of the mind heavy, but everybody kind of takes something and makes their own experience out of it. But at the end, I really think it's that gray matter in here that really matters. And that's what makes your adventure. Being able to tell stories without the story being told for you. Being able to do things and imagine things and use your imagination. A thing that seems in this day and age long gone. So let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments. And as always, until next time, it is your old pal Rob.
This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com.